There's a bridge coming down right now. We just saw a boat go through it. The Bridge of Lions. Here's that bridge, the entrance to the bridge over there. There's the old city gate over there, St. Augustine.
Lived here since the third grade, graduated from St. Augustine High School back in the early 80s, so I'm a product of the school system and spent a few years there, doing quite a few things. Yes, St. Augustine was a small town, and you could see 3 generations, of St. Augustine High School graduates in the stands on any particular night, back in the mid-'70s and, even when I was in high school in the early 80s.
Third grade. I think it was third grade. Might have been second grade. I really wanted to go to a high school football game. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I remember going to my first St. Augustine High School football game. And I remember I got a t-shirt, a maroon t-shirt with that old, yellow helmet with the funny face mask. I mean, this was probably 1989. And, then into the early 90s, I had 2 cousins who played here. I can remember going to some of their football games, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
With my sisters being active, they were cheerleaders. So from when I was 8 years old, pretty much when I almost was coming to St. Augustine High School, I played football behind the stadium, watched some of the football games back when I was a younger kid.
Everyone was local, everyone knew everyone else. It was a smaller town. The population wasn't, like it is today. So it was just a hometown feel, hometown team. So everyone aimed to play at St. Augustine High. That was the thing.
Freshman year, didn't know what to expect. We had a really good season as a freshman team. Sophomore, junior year, coaching changes. I think we had 3 different coaches from my freshman year to my junior year.
So between 93 and 97, we had a whole bunch of different football coaches. I'm not sure if you've got the scoop, but we had 3 or 4, one every year pretty much.
Most of the coaches that were on staff were guys that had been here at St. Augustine for a long time. So it was almost that fill-in role that we didn't have a coach.
Freshman year was the fall of 95. I was on the freshman team. We had 3 teams, and we went 0-6. We were in some ways, you could say, at a low point, not because of the people that were here, the adults or the kids per se. It was just a tough situation. The previous spring, there had been a new head coach that was hired, and in an unfortunate situation, that head coach left during spring football.
Coach McCraw, the athletic director at the time, had hired a replacement for Coach Lopez, and he came in for a spring and, did not maybe see what he wanted to see and left after a very short tenure as the head football coach. So it kind of left the program in flux. Coach McCraw, being a former head football coach, took the program over for a year.
I don't think anybody really had a bad attitude about football. I think that's largely due to the coaches that we did have. But I actually appreciate those coaches who they kept a positive attitude in what was a very difficult situation. And I was fully invested in playing football for 4 years, even though that freshman year was tough. And I know a lot of my friends felt the same way. So it's real easy to kind of whitewash that period of time before Coach came.
We had great team chemistry. All of us, we all hung out outside of football practice or the football field, outside of school. The chemistry was there. We were just missing the coaching because the talent was here on the player side. We just needed the talent to come in as a coach.
Coach was hired. It was January of my freshman year, so January 1996, and there was a meeting for everybody interested in playing football in the auditorium. you knew immediately things were going to be very different. Just from the way Coach commanded the room, from the way he spoke directly to us. He spoke to us like young men, and you could tell he was going to have high expectations and high standards, and that the outlook and expectations of everything we did was going to be very different. And for me and a lot of other boys, that was exciting.
We weren't that great in football. We would win, 1 or 2 games a season, and that's about it for a long period of time. And then when Coach Wiles came in, he really turned the program around like immediately.
You knew practices were going to be hard. You knew you were going to have to get in the weight room. Wiles, from the beginning, made it happen.
I think the thing that really turned it around is we came in, we knew we had to shock them a little bit and find out who wanted to stay.
I mean, I think when you've been having a tough time, you're excited for change because you're hopeful that it's going to lead to positive results. It was palpable just how the urgency had heightened, the attention to detail and those things. And again, so I think if you're a competitor, you notice that and you're like, okay, this is exciting because I think this is going to be something that can pay off.
You had to be in the weight room. It wasn't a choice. You had to be here. You had to be at practice. There was no skipping practice. If you weren't in school, you skipped class, you weren't going to play. It started and ended with Coach Wiles. It was you did what he said or you weren't going to play.
Yeah, well, I think even as a freshman in the fall of 1995, I recognized that we had talent. While we were 2-8, we lost, I believe it was by 1 point to state semifinalist Mainland. We played at the end of the season. I remember being at the game. It was at St. Augustine. I was watching the game, and we played state-ranked Palatka, very, very tough. So it wasn't a pipe dream to think that if we just got some things tightened up and got it going in the right direction, that we could be successful.
We started out that season 5-0, I believe it is. We beat Palatka in our kickoff classic. We played a great Mainland team. They were, I think, Final Four team from the prior year. We beat them.
Week 2 was really probably the launching point, though. We played that state, ranked Mainland team who had just been in the semifinal, and this was an intimidating-looking, beautiful football team. We did not look like them. We were small, we were tough, we were aggressive, we were coached well and all those things, but we did not look like Mainland. And we kind of shocked, North Florida by upsetting them. Week 2 in 1996, we went and played Orange Park on the road, and we had lost to Orange Park 8 straight years. And then that night we beat them 10-7. So back-to-back weeks we had gutted out a 13-10 win against Mainland and then a 10-7 win against Orange Park.
Yeah, for sure. There were, Donald Anderson was a great player at running back for sure. Richie Irvin on the defensive side of the ball was outstanding, and of course Brad Beach. And I hate to name names because there's so many outstanding kids that year that went through an awful lot to really get things started. And I attribute a lot of the success that St. Aug's having today to that group in 1996.
We won our preseason game and then we started 4-0. And in the process of doing that, we beat Nease, which at that point in time, it's just us and Nease in the county as far as public schools. So that was a big deal.
It's always the team up north. That was the game you look forward to every year. It was always my best game. It was my Nease game. We came with our A game every time we played them. I remember that game. It was tied 0-0 at half. Nease scored coming out of half to go up 7-0. Kickoff came to me, actually. I took it back 80 yards for a touchdown. and after that it was over. We had a pick. I think it ended up being 13-7 to win that game. 4 years I never lost any.
It was a feeling that I had not experienced, I don't think, as an athlete. How hard things were, the level of expectations. And it was awesome, winning our preseason game. It was awesome beating Nease. But then when we upset Mainland, we beat a team that we truly knew, like, wow, like I don't know that we could have beat them if it wasn't for how we're doing things now.
The locals around here did tell me when I did get here, they said, Coach, we need to win at least one game, and that's the Palatka game. So I knew it was big. I knew how good Palatka was and the job that Jim McCool did over there. So I did very quickly on understand that Palatka was a game we had to win.
Yeah, I don't talk about Palatka. I never beat Palatka. Never beat them. 4 years, we lost 4 years in a row. The only time we did beat them was we played them twice. In 1 year, we played them for our kickoff classic at the beginning of the season, and then they thumped us my senior year. I think we beat them like 10-6 at the beginning of the season. They beat us 31-0 at the end.
Well, Coach Wiles already knew Coach McCool at Palatka.
There's hate between St. Augustine and Palatka. I mean, when we got on the bus, we went to Palatka. When we got 5 miles from the school, from the stadium, we had to put our helmets on, put your heads down, because they're throwing rocks. Same thing when we leave. Put your helmets on, keep your helmets on, put your head down on the bus, and they're throwing rocks at the bus.
And but boy, they were a different animal by the end of that season. And we were 7-2 and really excited. But they had a better football team than us, and they beat us handily, 31-0. In some ways, I think it was good, because it was a sober reminder at the end of that season, like, we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. So we ended up not making the playoffs. We lost in a heartbreaking tiebreaker the following Monday after the Palatka game, the old school Kansas tiebreaker. It was a 3-way tiebreaker with us, Mainland, and Pine Ridge, and for 2 spots, the district champ and the runner-up. And it didn't work out for us. We didn't get to go to the playoffs at 7-3, which honestly would have been a monumental accomplishment in year 1. But you have bowl opportunities. So we got to go down to Orlando and play in the Rotary Bowl against Oviedo High School, which was a bigger school, lots of good players. And for us, it was almost like a college bowl where you have a team who's like up and coming and uses that bowl to go launch into the next year. And we went and played really well and handled a quality football team and beat them by a few scores.
Coach Wiles brought a lot of tradition in. All of them were to motivate.
When I came up here, I felt like we need to establish some traditions of our own other than what was here before. So that first time where kids got to get up and say whatever they wanted to say to each other or wanted to share what they wanted, to say to coaches and coaches back to them, was really special. It was very emotional.
That was where the seniors all had a chance to kind of stand up in front of the team and kind of just say anything, really.
I remember the burning of the shoes. I do not remember my speech, in all honesty. You got to remember, I'm 46 now, right? So we're kicking almost 30 years worth of memories there.
There were kids crying because they were so happy they had success, when they're especially the seniors, their final year.
And it was just a very sincere moment where all the seniors could give support to the, players that are up and coming, kind of leave the last kind of words, some kind of encouragement. That was really memorable. That was one of the special times. And it was at the end of the year where you can just reflect, kind of look at all the success that we had.
And I remember that was a great thing for our football program to launch us into year 2 with Coach. confidence was through the roofs. And now, Friday nights, people wanted to come out and see what was going on, and kids in the school building wanted to come out and be a part of the football team. Now we expect to compete to win. And we lost some very, very good players after Coach's first year that had done a lot. And we had to replace the entire backfield. We had to replace a ton of players on defense. And so we knew we had a lot of work to do.
And I knew we had some good athletes coming back. Brian's leadership as a junior or as a senior was outstanding. He was on both sides of the ball. He played guard and linebacker. He jokes to this day that I may have won a state championship that year if I had had him at quarterback or running back. We always laugh about that one.
We were still not at the point where we had the quantity of kids, talented athletes in the program that eventually we became accustomed to. There was never any, nobody ever got weary. I mean, we knew that we just were getting beat and we were having some tough luck, and it was part of the growth of the program. And very disappointing, obviously, to have a losing season. Our goal was to try to find a way that year to become a playoff team. But we just weren't there yet. We just weren't there yet as a program. I don't think anything had necessarily changed on the day-to-day. It's just not always linear. I had never been a part of something that had demanded so much of me, but that I had also felt so inclined to give so much to. And it was truly a life-changing experience, and it filtered out into everything that I did, and it impacted the way we approached school, just everything. So yeah, 4-6 was a massive disappointment, but the experience, that did nothing to tarnish the experience I had playing football here.
Because winning obviously is not easy. I always kind of refer to it as you're constantly pushing a boulder up a hill. And we had just moved it a little bit that first year. So we went through some tough times the next couple years, but after we got to 1999, I think is when, everybody pretty felt like, hey, this is going to be special here.
Remember, before you can play in that state championship game, you have to get out of the first round. We start in Region 1, St. Augustine.
I will have to say, if anybody says it wasn't a surprise to get the state championship, I'd have to say I don't know about that, because getting to a state title game, you obviously have to have a lot of luck.
Like every team everywhere, goal one is to be better than you were the year before and to make the playoffs. This year, the St. Augustine Yellow Jackets are doing that and more.
It's like a test, taking a test all through the year. Then, in order to get the A, you got to make it to the next level, and that's Tallahassee.
The 2001 team, when you talk leadership on the offensive side of the ball, is Willie Coop.
Willie was the captain. I mean, he was soft-spoken, but he led with actions, and he lived up to all the hype that he got. And Willie, in my opinion, is one of the greatest St. Augustine football players to come out of St. Augustine.
So me and Willie played together from the time we were 6. Willie's always been the biggest one out of all of us. He's always really, really athletic guy. It surprised you. He didn't say much. He just always led by example.
He was the beginning, of that upper echelon player that drew a lot of attention, to St. Augustine High School football.
I'll never forget, Mr. Stansel had an ex-ed class, and one day I saw Willie coming out of the class, and I went down and asked Mr. Stansel, "What's Willie doing in there?" He goes, "Coach, he comes by all the time and talks to the ex-ed kids." So he made everybody in the school feel special. And then, I'm looking up in the stands at a game, and all the kids are up there, and I'm like, and why are they there? Well, they came to see Willie. So Willie was an incredible leader on the field. He's one of the few kids that ever played both ways for us. He played quarterback and safety, and ended up signing with Miami to play safety. But Willie Cooper was he was far more of a leader, just not on the field, but he was a leader of the entire school.
I think with the start of my sophomore year, we pretty much kind of had down what they expected of us. So we would always hold each other accountable.
The nation's oldest city has one of the area's best high school football teams, St. Augustine High.
I wouldn't say pressure, more or less expectation, right? I mean, I think there was a standard that was set that in order to play here, you got to meet that standard.
It was a surprise, and I can tell you from the coach's standpoint, we were all so excited about getting there that we forgot about, hey, we need to go win this. And it became, hey, we're going to take a great trip. We're going to go up there. We're going to practice at Florida State. We just went up there. I don't want to say as hey, this is great. We're happy to be here, but that's kind of the way we took it. We were happy to be there. I did know going in Rockledge High School, Chuck Wood was their head coach. Larry Laskowski ran their offense. I knew their staff from Brevard County when I was at Melbourne. And I knew they had a great staff, and I knew they had great players. And I knew that it was going to be a really uphill battle for us. When you lose a state championship game, that's something that stays with you a long time. And I do remember specific plays of that game. If something went a certain way, it might have gone differently. And after we lost, but we knew we could get there, that's what changed everything. Palatka games were always pressure-packed because the town wanted you to win.
We were number 1 in the state, and Palatka was number 2 in the state. And we were playing them at Palatka for the district championship.
I mean, I think it was Halloween night, of course, it was just like Hollywood. Halloween night, full moon. Their stadium was so packed that literally you could not move.
I think we were 1, Palatka was 2, and we did not lead in that game until the very end.
That time they ran the wishbone, so they had 2 backs and a fullback. They had some very talented guys over there that ran the ball very fast. There's a lot of teams that couldn't run on our defense, man, and they would come out, and I think both tailbacks had over 150 yards rushing. And so they would go score, we would go back and score. We might get a stop, we go score, and then they come back and score. So it was like that all night.
And then it goes into overtime. Palatka scores, miss the extra point. We score. Micah Kluke kicks the extra point. and it was the only time that we led in the game, the very last play of the game. And many of the guys, I don't want to say the old-timers, but the old-timers say the greatest St. Augustine football game they've ever seen.
You know, obviously sitting down after that year was done and having some conversations with Coach Wiles, you know, he didn't seem to be too worried, you know, about the future. What if we had just lost in the graduating class, you know, because of that crew that we had coming in.
I'm going to say we decided going into that we were going to keep them together. Because as freshmen, we saw there was a lot of talent in that group.
You know, the Brandon James, the Quinn Terrences, Q, Jock.
There was speed. They were physical. So we knew they were going to be good.
We were in a cafeteria. I think it had rained out that day. Something was going on, and we all were in there, and we were going back and forth about that same subject of winning the state championship.
We were talking trash to sophomores that were on JV with. We're going to be first team to win state, but we're going to be the class to bring us a state title. You guys can do it. We're going to be the guys to do it.
And then it got a little rowdy. And then once they pushing a little too hard, we came back and like, hey, we finna let them push around on us. Like, come on. So we pushed back, you know.
All us together, we're gonna fight that. Because we're not soft.
I think it shocked them because us being young, they thought we were gonna like cower or like back down, like, oh no, they're freshmen. But nah, we stood our ground. Like, hey, we here.
You know, usually you get guys to where your older group, they'll back down from you. Those guys did. You couldn't tell them what they couldn't do. All of them believed that even as freshmen, they believed that they should be playing on varsity with us. Oh, well, if I can't play running back on varsity, I can play DB. I can beat out your cornerback. I should be out there starting. You know, so we always got that from those guys. Very confident group.
Yeah, when you start talking about Jock and Brandon, yeah, there's some confidence. Quinterrence, there's some confidence there.
So when we came in at that time, there was just JV. There was no freshmen. And so, you know, we're on JV with a bunch of rising sophomores. And then a lot of us that had just came in. So that was you know, first time really that I was like exposed to like, all right, it's time to go compete. You can't, you know, nothing will be given. You got to go earn everything. I think it's the Kickoff Classic. So like it's the first season, not the first regular season game, the Kickoff Classic, and I'm not starting. And so I'm the punt returner. And in my mind, I'm talking to myself the whole time like I'm going to show them, like I can't wait. Our defense went out there, 3 and out, stopped them. And, you know, obviously the first opportunity for me is a punt return. I was going on the field, not starting at running back, but as a punt return and telling myself, well, they won't start me on offense. So the offense is not even going to get a chance to go on the field. I'm going to run this punt back, and we're going to score. And then they're going to understand, like, I should play. Like, I need to play.
The thing that was interesting about Brandon was it didn't look like he was running fast. And he was running fast, really fast. And he was so elusive.
So I played safety and I played receiving. Freshman year I played 1 game of JV, and I went up to varsity.
We always laugh about Quentin Hancock because he never talked. He is the quietest human. I'll still see him, and he still doesn't talk. But man, he could play on both sides of the ball, great hands. He was one of the quiet leaders. Here we get a kid from Bartram, a quarterback, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe there's a 6'2", 6'3" kid coming to transfer, play quarterback. We get this 5'7", 155-pound kid that comes in my door. I'm going, man, you know, this is our transfer. Well, as soon as he goes in the weight room, he wants to lift with the linebackers. And all of a sudden, you have this kid he's pretty tough.
You come to play ball here at St. Augustine High School, you better burn the ships behind you because there's no retreat. You got to go one way. And so when I came here, I was 4th string, and it took a minute for me to earn that starting spot, but that's my mentality, and that's a mentality that's instilled to these players at a very young age throughout this program.
He turned out to be just an outstanding player for us, and the only quarterback that I know of that's only beat Tim Tebow twice.
I mean, you hear about people, you know, how good they are, and we don't think anything of like, well, they got to play us. So let's bring it on. But when he got on the field and we seen what he can do, it was like, okay, these guys are ball. Like where was he? Like, how did he just come up out of nowhere? Is what we were trying to figure out.
I went and saw him in a spring game. They were doing things that a lot of people had not done at that time. And so I called Coach Stoops out at Oklahoma and said, hey, Coach, we've got this. There's this kid down here that's really good. They're doing all kinds of stuff, motioning, trading, formations. You know, I think playing traditional cover 3, cover 2 is probably not going to be good for us. You know, do you have anything? He said, get on the plane, fly out. Bo Pelini had just left the 49ers and come to Oklahoma and brought certain things with him. And so I flew out and spent 3 days with Coach Stoops, Coach Pelini, and it ended up working well for us.
If you're on a good team, sorry team, whatever, ball is going to ball, and he balled. He definitely balled. If it wasn't for him, the game wouldn't have been close. But he personally made that game close.
And probably up until that Nease game, I felt like Coach Wiles still wasn't sure if I should start or not, but that was the first game where I got over 10 carries and I had over 200-something yards, and me and Tim kind of went back and forth all night. And to be honest, I would think that was kind of both of our coming out parties as sophomores, and kind of these are both of our teams. That's the time, that's the game when we had this like, all right, we got to start taking them serious though. Like they're going to be good, and we know they're going to be good for the next few years.
To them, to us, our sophomore year to us, it was just another team. More towards our junior year, where he started getting more attention, it was like, yeah, we got to beat them. Like we can't let him beat them. But like our sophomore year, no, it wasn't anything. It was like just another game. And then after that game, it was like, okay, got to keep an eye on that.
St. Augustine, the Yellow Jackets host rival Nease in the Class 3A regional final. It's been billed as the most important game in St. Johns County history.
That's the only pressure of like, we cannot lose to them. I don't care how good they say he is. I don't care how good everyone thinks they're getting. We still can't lose to Nease.
In fact, the Yellow Jackets have not lost to Nease since '93.
I've never seen our guys more ready than when we stepped on the field to play them. I'll never forget, because they came out like they did the first go, and it was Tebow this, Tebow that, touchdown, 2 or 3 plays, touchdown. Okay, now you know you're in for it. We came out first series, threw about 6 balls, touchdown. It was like a Rocky fight.
We were a little more prepared for what they were going to do. Tebow still did. Tebow was still Tebow, but we were a lot more prepared of what they were going to do.
And it was back and forth all game, and we had Brandon James and Carlos Hamilton rushing the quarterback.
But I do remember a time Brandon was on the sideline. Brandon came to me. He was like, hey, Jock, we need 1 stop. You get a stop, we're going to score. We ended up getting a stop, and then he ended up getting like a pass, like a swing pass or something, and then he scored.
So leading up to that last play, they drove all the way down the field. They score the touchdown, they win the game.
20 seconds left, no timeouts. The keeper.
It opens up. There's a hole. And Tim starts to run through that hole. And Marcus Owens was our linebacker. Marcus was probably 5'9", maybe 5'8", 175, 180 pounds. He goes, stands him up.
I was right there literally on the goal line. I don't think he made it in. Time ticked off, we win.
Did he get in? Well, what? Well, they unpile him. As they unpile him, they decide he didn't get in. They got no timeouts left, and all of a sudden, game over. They didn't get to run another play.
Well, he didn't score. He dropped the ball because my guy always struggled to get the ball from under center, and once he dropped the ball, he was like trying to push his way in, and still to this day, I don't think he ever scored.
We had them out when we needed to. We put it in when we need to, like we've been doing all year. We play to win. That's it, St. Augustine, baby.
Wow, St. Augustine, big win, 35-28.
And I have watched 100 times Tim Tebow on SEC football games, whether it's in Georgia, Alabama, whoever it is, him running over linebackers like it's nothing. But that night on that play, Marcus fills that hole and stands him up, and we end up winning the game.
Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I always thought he got in. Coach Wiles used to rip me every time I said he got in. But guess what? Like, they always say the eye in the sky don't lie, but the eyes wasn't in the right place at that time. So St. Augustine won. They were pissed, rightfully so. But referees called the game. They said he wasn't in, so he wasn't in. So my opinion doesn't matter, and theirs don't either.
Shortly after that game, going into the Final Four, we realized that we were playing bowls.
Usually, you know, our strength and conditioning wins out in a lot of games. And I know that Bowles, their strength conditioning coach, I know him real well. I know Corky very well. And I knew we were going to be in a dog fight.
Anyone knows during that time and still to this day when you play Bowles, I mean, that's a top-tier school with top athletes, Division I guys all over the field. Corky Rogers was the head coach, most highly decorated coach in Florida history.
Them getting off the bus, it's just like giant after giant after giant after giant just getting off the bus. But it was just something about that night, it was just off.
We ended up punting the ball to them and pinned them down on the 1 yard line. They throw a 99-yard touchdown pass. That was the first play that they ran on the 1 yard line.
Like I said, we could have played them 10 times out of 10, and they would have beat us and blew us out every time.
That game ended in just a total disbelief that we lost in general, and that we lost by a few touchdowns.
I mean, we were crying, everybody. I mean, that hurt, like it really did, because we were 11. I think that was our first loss. You know, that was our first loss, and we had like the work we put in up until that point, and then to lose like that, it just hurt.
Sometimes doubt creeps in. I think doubt creeped in that night.
Yeah, I remember when that Bowles game came to an end, I knew that I wouldn't be stepping back on that field. So there was those emotions there, you know, there was tears. And I remember specifically after we had our team prayer to remember what the team sounded like when they said Jacket Pride at the end. So we all put our hands up there, you know, 1, 2, 3, Jacket Pride. I remember that now. It's still stuck in my head how it sounded, and I was conscious enough in that moment to like take that in. Because that's what mattered, was the pride of this team, of that unit, of the legacy and the guys that came before, the coaching staff, the people in the stands. Like, it was all about the pride of the Jackets and us as a brotherhood. What makes someone a champion is when you get knocked in the mouth, you're bleeding and you fell, you get back up and you go again, or you lay down. You get back up and you go again, and you fight through, and you have perseverance, and you give it your all, whether you win or whether you lose, you knew you gave it your all. Yeah, you're a champion.
Kind of take me back. That was the end of the 04 season after we lost the Bowls. It was a Monday morning, I believe. But I remember walking into her class, and Miss Wiles always had a smile on her face. But she knew, you know, obviously we lost. And she was asking me, she's like, listen, how do you feel? I said, listen, I'm being very honest with you. I said, we won't lose another game. I told her, I said, listen, mark my words, write it down. We will never lose another game in our careers as being Yellow Jackets. We will never lose.
So I think across the board, everybody they just put their feet back in the dirt and said, all right, let's grind it out. Let's go to work.
We were dedicated on getting state. Like, it was state or bust. Like, every breakout we did after that game, state. It was Jackets, it was nothing else. 1, 2, 3, state. 1, 2, 3, state. No matter what it was, state. Yeah.
I think everybody felt that way because the pressure was not just on the team and the coaches. We also had pressure from the neighborhood knowing what we were capable of. Like, when you talk about a city shutting down on a Friday so everybody can come to that 7:30 kickoff at Brumley Stadium, the expectations are now crazy. The expectations is not a regional final. Now it's a state final because we already did the regional final and we got whooped in that regional final.
I think the leadership had always been there. I really do. I do know that this group had gotten so close that they weren't going to leave any stone unturned.
We even started throwing up the dynasty sign, and Coach Wiles used to get mad at us for it. He was like, y'all ain't did nothing yet. But Coach, hey, we are a dynasty. We just want to get it done. Don't worry. We're not doing it for nothing.
We know we're so close to winning the whole thing. And we know if we, just maybe a little bit more. Watching that group, they were playing like they play. They were being who they are. Playing Tim Tebow that last year, there was incredible pressure.
He's never beaten St. Augustine High School, and Nease has lost 13 consecutive games to their rivals.
I've heard the story of Peyton Manning a lot. He's a good quarterback, but he never beat Florida. So I don't want that to be said about me in St. Augustine.
There were all kinds, every college coach in America was there, mainly see Tim Tebow. But who they saw was Brandon James. I mean, they saw a great football team on the other side of the field.
I wouldn't say freak athletes. I think we had a bunch of dogs, and there's a difference. Because when we got off the bus, we didn't scare anybody. Nease was way bigger than us when we played them back in the day. They probably had more Division I recruits than us back in the day, but they didn't have more dogs. Even you can have better athletes, you can have prettier kids, whatever. The dogs are gonna, most cases, come out victorious in football games.
I don't think we stopped Tebow. I think maybe we slowed him down a little bit, but he is an unbelievable competitor.
We're just trying to come in here and play our game. We're trying to let any other distractions get to us, so we're just basically sticking to what we're doing.
We tried not to make a game bigger. We always said, hey, this is just another game for us. It's what we do. We're going to go out and do what we do.
Way 42-0. Juwan Jakes takes it in from the 1, 49-0. Panthers driving late in the fourth. Carlton Lewis picks it off, returns at 80. St. Aug wins 56-0. Jackets 10-0. Wiles the winningest coach in school history.
I felt like that was the first time Coach Wiles seen a bunch of black kids that were running fast like us and getting off the bus, talking trash like us, but they're actually huge and they're actually freaks. Because they had a bunch of 6'3", 245 kids. Their safety was like 6'2", 190 pounds in high school. He was going to like Illinois. And so we always joke about that with him. Like, well, you see all those? Yeah, they're big. They're like us, but they're big. We walked over to him and kind of slapped him on the butt. Like, man, we got this. Don't worry about this. We're going to win the game. Like, just calm down.
So back then, everybody listened to the radio. There was no you had iPods, but it wasn't one of those things where you can just Pandora, listen to what you want to listen to. So everybody listened to the radio. The Reigns game was funny to the fact that they players got on the radio 92.7 to beat every single day and said what they were going to do to St. Augustine High School every day.
And we heard the radio, them talking crazy on the radio. How they're gonna beat us, how they were laughing us off.
We're kids that all of us have cars, all of us listen to the radio. We're driving around listening to this guy all week. And by the time Thursday came around, we'd been hearing this guy all week. And he's from Jacksonville. We just couldn't wait to play him. We knew we were getting disrespected. We knew how good we were, but we knew how disrespected we felt by all this Reigns chatter and by all these Reigns talk. So we were just ready to come out and, quite honest, embarrass him.
We got to the game. I think Brandon took the first kick back for a touchdown, and then it just got ugly from there. And when I say ugly, I mean ugly in every way. I think we must have got at least 10 to 12 personal foul celebration penalties that game, to the point where Coach Wiles lost it.
We told anybody if you scored, celebrate.
It was nuts. You had guys handing fans the ball.
Might have been Brandon. Ran the ball to my cousin Eric. Eric spiked it.
We gave him the ball, and he was a fan in dog pound back then. He spiked it, and flags went everywhere. It was the greatest thing ever, man. The greatest thing ever.
It seemed like they were standing still out there. Like really, like we were so prepared for everything that they were going to do. We were calling out the plays before they pretty much finished lining up. Halftime, we got the ball back. Me and Brandon are walking back, for the kickoff return. My uncle was sitting back there in the stands, like with some of the Reigns people. And he says, "Hey, Brandon, I just bet this dude $100 y'all won't take him back." Brandon said, "Bet him." I looked back like this, like, "Get your money." I said, "Get your money."
We set out to embarrass him, and I think we did a good job of doing it.
I've seen a lot of talent in Florida, a lot of speed, but when you have that type speed and the guys are coached that well, it makes it tough.
I think that's what really made Coach realize, like, okay, these guys really might be good. He came to us and talked about the dynasty sign. Like, Brandon used to do this all the time. And he said that it was okay. He didn't really give a crack about us throwing it up anymore,
Pensacola High has great football tradition. And we've had dog fights with them, and Brian has too. Pensacola coming down here. Pensacola, Washington, I know we went out there and took care of them pretty easily.
That was a crazy game when we went out there because the Pensacola team we just beat was at the game on our sideline talking trash to us. We just whooped y'all. y'all shouldn't be talking trash pretty much in those words. Like, they sitting over there talking trash. Like, y'all shouldn't even be talking to us. Y'all should be over there doing something else. Like, we just whoop y'all and we finna whoop them too.
I felt like we get by Pensacola, we get by Washington. And then I knew that, we're staring down the barrel of North Marion again.
And then there were two, both from down the road, and both hoping to travel south next weekend for the state championship games. Let's start with the Class 3A state semifinal.
I always said I hated to play teams like us. And North Marion had the same kind of kids as we did, and that you knew it was going to be 4 quarters of, just getting punched in the mouth and getting back up. I felt like we had a better than not chance of winning that one.
The whole city was there. Like, the city, like I said, on Friday nights, the city shuts down, but for state, I don't think anybody was home. Like, everybody was at Foots Brumley.
When Terrence Cooper calls his own number, and he wants the end zone, and he gets the end zone.
They did a great job of pinning us back. So we were in a field position battle with them, and we were down on the 1 or 2 yard line, and we ran jet trap. We ran it back across the field. It was probably Brandon. And then we gave the trap inside to Rayshawn Wilson, and Rayshawn Wilson took it 99 yards for a touchdown.
Rayshawn Wilson, 98-yard touchdown run.
If we had not gotten out from under there, I don't know that we win it.
I'm actually nervous. They were moving the ball the whole game, but like, we just somehow, like, bend don't break.
Cooper touchdown pass to Quentin Hancock.
And I remember thinking, like, they might have left too much time on the clock.
At the end, they start moving it on us. So obviously we're getting a little nervous. We're sending pressure to get to them. They're complete some short balls and then making some plays. And then they get down, like I said, they get down to about our 35, maybe been a little bit closer. And I felt like, they had a pretty good field goal kicker. I felt like they'd get a little bit more yards and then try to kick the field goal. I was really surprised when they tried to score a touchdown. They ran 4 verticals on us as we were in cover 3.
So, like, just that whole drive was just nerves. It seemed like they were just slowly grinding their way down the field. And for some reason, they threw the ball. And that was crazy. Like, that sealed it. Like, that definitely sealed it.
I guess that experience will live on forever.
Celebration was incredible. People were storming the field. Going into that season, I asked Brian Rizzi if he would make change from quarterback to safety. So he said, just coach whatever you need, whatever you think we need to do to win a state title, I'll do it. And he did that. You talk about an unselfish young man. That propelled us into the state championship game.
That was an eye-opening experience. Like, we're not invincible, right? We've gotten this far, but we're definitely beatable,
We were excited because we knew we were going back to a state championship again. And this time we were already, as coach, we were thinking, man, we could not wait to get in that film room and break down our opponents. Because this time it was going to be different, from 01. At this time we were going to get it done, and we felt like we had the team to get it done. So I had never played Booker before, but I did have a very close friend that I coached in an all-star game with, Paul Meckley. That Saturday morning after the game, I got on the phone, I called Paul, and I said, hey, Paul, we're playing Booker in the finals. I said, can you tell me what weaknesses they have? Is it on one side of the ball or where is it? And he goes, Joey, they don't have a weakness.
We got a police escort that night. So it was one of those things where, man, you like, this is what it feels like to play in college. This is what it feels like to be in the big leagues.
Now the whole city is standing watching us leave, and we're finally about to get a chance to go do it. You know, it was just one of those things where it's a real moment that you kind of got to just sit there and kind of take in. But, you know, once you get there, you definitely want to, you know, cash in for all your hard work. You don't want to get down there and be a runner-up. That was one of our things, too. We don't want to be a runner-up.
Thinking back, I did notice, like, no one was, like, struck by it. You know, like, you get starstruck, like, oh, like, us being in the state, no one was like, oh, we're here, like, get unfocused. Like, it was that, and then, okay, let's get into focus. I remember they had a receiver that was going to Miami, speedy receiver, so we knew we had to be on our P's and Q's. But, I mean, we didn't look at it like it was a pushover game. We look at it, we got to go get this. We got to go take it.
There was no pressure knowing that we were going to go play for a state championship, simply because we felt like we were playing the best every single day in practice. The only guy we had ever heard of was Sam Shields, and he was pretty damn good. But we also had Jacquez Rickson that we felt that can match up with any single person, wide receiver-wise, in the state. When we looked at teams on film, we always said, well, that guy's not better than Brandon. Well, that guy's not better than Q. That guy's not better than Matt. That guy's not better than Petrie or whoever it was. We always put in our mind that we got a guy that's just as good as that person that we're playing. So there was zero pressure going into the state championship game.
I knew after the first quarter, I felt really good about where we were. Defensively, they weren't moving the ball at all. And offensively, you know, the big play was Brandon's throwback pass to Quinterrence on a quarterback screen. That was our first score and going up 7-0.
Brandon James' pass is complete to number 7, Quinterrence Cooper. Touchdown, St. Augustine.
They had us prepared. I know defensively, it seemed like they knew everything they were going to do.
And then Rayshon Wilson doing it again across the 50. Good blocking down the field. He's got a guy leading the show. The 20 across the 10. That's Kevin Streeter blocking. And he gets it. Touchdown.
You know, Sarasota tried to do anything. Our defense was in the backfield. Our defense was causing a turnover. Our defense was doing something to always, like, keep them off kilter. They couldn't get going all night offensively.
Randy Jones. And again, same result. Waiting on him are the guys in goal. Total offense, 175 for St. Augustine and 16 now for Booker.
I mean, offensively, the same thing. We knew everything they were going to do.
How about this trickery? More for you. This one's coming to James, and James is going to try to get out to the end zone and get it turned, and he does. Good blocking outside by Kevin Streeter one more time. The wide receiver has been excellent. Hasn't caught a ball yet today, but he has kicked out so many big blocks. That one's 16-yard gain. And the first snap in this third quarter. Here's Sam Shields. Sam Shields, hard to bring down. Wishing he would have gone down on that first strike because he loses a couple after that first lick. Tries to dance a little bit, not much there for him.
So I guess in a sense we knew we were going to win it, but at the same time we knew, like,
Jones can't get anywhere. They've got him by the shirt tail and drive him out of bounds. 3 hats wearing the gold bonnets.
like every team that we played that supposedly was supposed to be better than us, we were always the underdog.
Throwing it up there in the corner. How about Jacquez Rickerson? There he is. Showing up on offense too is number 23. And trying to pull away are his Yellow Jackets. How about that strike?
I didn't really feel like we had it in the bag until like middle of the fourth quarter.
And St. Augustine can smell it now. Up 24-8.
anybody could turn it, like anything could happen, anybody could turn it on at some point. I mean, like we felt confident. I felt confident that we were going to win, but it wasn't until like the middle, beginning of the fourth quarter, I'm like, yeah, we pretty much got this in the bag. Like, this is it.
There goes Cooper to Rayshawn Wilson, who's just a junior, who gets into the end zone. He's not done.
As the state championship game started, obviously I am nervous throughout the whole thing. There was even a situation, so Brian told me about this, and it's really funny. We're up. I mean, and realistically, we've won the game. And something happened on the field, and Brian and PJ Grawl, another guy that helped coach, they get all giddy and start, high-fiving each other. And he said, I turned around and yelled at both of them. The game wasn't over, but realistically, it was.
In 1996, he took the job. After a couple of years there, he's like, well, I don't know if I can win a state title here. I'm not sure I could do that. And put together a staff with a lot of experience and guys who were going to buy into it. Says, if we're going to win a state title, we got to lift weights. Built the weight room up. It was nothing. I mean, it had nothing in their weight room. And there you see what happens 10 years later when you win a state championship. Joey Wiles, 90-27, has built this team through the weight program. He stayed the course. He stayed committed to St. Augustine and their product. 2 trips to the state finals and a victorious one today.
I don't think we had anybody, coaching staff, players, I don't think we had anybody that has won a state championship on that staff that knew what that felt like.
I did not feel like it was over. I know everybody else did, but I did not feel like it was over, until that clock, till it hit 00. Man, once it happened, it was like nothing, I had ever experienced in sport, in athletics.
Taking this one home in 3A, Joey Wiles and the Yellow Jackets of St. Augustine. Your state champions in 2005.
So we ran around hugging everybody, players, cheerleaders, everybody. Everybody got hugged.
The naysayers, we don't care about them. We believe in us. We knew we were going to get it done, and that just proved like that was just a stamping point of all everything we worked for, the blood, the sweat, the tears, everything we worked for, the workouts. That just capped it off. Pretty much, it capped it off big time.
To bring a state championship back to the city of St. Augustine was just an incredible feeling. Just hope that brought a lot of pride to the people here. We had practiced 16 weeks together. I just wanted to really have another week. Even though we won, a state championship, I was thinking, man, I'd love to have another week after with these guys. They were funny. They were caring. They were humble when they needed to be. They were brash when they needed to be. They were pretty much everything they needed to be at that particular time, and you hated to lose that.
All my guys that I freaking grew up with, and we talked about this since we were playing Sandlot together. All my buddies that I'm seniors with, that I won't get a chance to play with anymore.
Everybody you see on the field of St. Augustine is from St. Augustine, around the corner. If you come to St. Augustine trying to look for a player, just go to the neighborhood. You'll find them. You'll see them. They're around. That's how St. Augustine is. Everybody's from here. It's the culture. That's what makes St. Augustine St. Augustine. Actually, that's why our players are the way they are, because it's instilled in the community to, don't back down from nobody. Always give your best. That's just how it is.
You don't have to just dreaming and working hard doesn't just amount to like just talk, or like it can actually happen if you like just put some effort behind it. And so that's what, if anything, that's what I took from leaving here and going to UF. It's like, okay, the work you put in, you know, definitely correlates to wins and success and all that stuff. So, you know, if you approach anything the right way, anything's possible.
You know, once you've been a part of that high school, or in this case, part of football, that no matter what happens, you will always be a part of it. So if you're a player and you come back, you will always be welcome back on that field in that school building. And I think that's rare that we have that. And I'm grateful to be a part of that.
So, something that you always remember, and I think every Jacket that has been here at the High will remember, is before games, you come out of that same locker room that they still use today. You go around the practice field, you walk onto that field, you get into that underneath the west end zone there, underneath this goalpost, and you come through it. That's what you remember here at St. Augustine. You remember those games, but that's something that always sticks with me, is going 2x2 to that stadium and playing football.
I think you get a choice to make about whether or not you're going to decide that something's going to be special or it's not. And I tell our kids all the time, the cool thing about it is you get to decide if this experience is going to be special or not. If you choose to make it special, it can be special. If you choose to be cynical and not go all in, then it doesn't have to be special.
We are trying to produce men, because at the end of the day, life's going to get tough. And if you can go through the toughness of what we put them through, it gives you some confidence to being able to handle the hard things in life down the road. And that ultimately is what we want, because football's over in 4 years for 95% of them. So what's afterwards? And for us, it was trying to create, you know, outstanding young men.
You know, I appreciate that saying, that mantra. You know, I appreciate that we have an alumni association. I occasionally get a biannual or a semi-annual phone call from people in the alumni association about the team, even just to say, hey man, good luck, or tell me about the team. I appreciate that, like when I go to the sports club, there'll be somebody who, you know, played 50 years ago that has all these questions and hangs on every word about listening about this year's quarterback or this year's best player on defense. So, you know, I choose to align with that, and that is special. And if you're not going to embrace the fact that we're the oldest around here and we have the most tradition around here, then you should go somewhere else. So, you know, that's what that phrase means to me, and it means that it's who we are, and we choose to believe that that's special, and that's why it is.
That it doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter where you at, it's always somebody you can reach back out to. When we talk about once a Jacket, always a Jacket, it's just that love for, are you a St. Augustine High School Yellow Jacket? Yeah, I am. And then we can always come and we can always have that one thing in common.
The state title so bad, so we just came out here and did everything in our power to try to get it. And I mean, we came out here, when we first scored that touchdown, we knew wasn't nothing stopping us from getting the state title.
History, I can't even talk right now. I'm so excited. We just don't know. The school's gonna love us now.